I'm also describing dual process theory. You can see the work of Jonathan Evans. He's the main figure, but there's a lot of papers he's co-written, books he's co-written on the topic of dual process theory, because you have this intuitive type of thinking and analytic thinking. Now, the thing is that these things are not, it's not like either or. There has to be a balance. There has to be a balance, because pure intuitive thinking is not good either. Pure intuitive thinking is not good, because sometimes intuitions are actually false. Sometimes you have a tendency to think in a certain way that is actually false. And I'll give you an example of that. And the famous example is the bat and ball example. So if I tell you that there is a bat and a ball that I went and bought at the store, like a baseball bat, or like in cricket, you have a bat, right? You have a bat and you have a ball that you've bought. And I buy them. The total cost is $1.10. And I tell you, that's the total, $1.10. I tell you that the bat costs $1 more than the ball. So what is the cost of what was the individual cost of the bat, and what was the individual cost of the ball? That in total, both of them are $1.10. But individually, what is the cost of them when the bat is $1 more than the ball? Put your answer in the chat, like just intuitively. How much do the bat and ball cost? Hey, James, Modern Day Debates is in the chat. Good to see you. Someone is putting formulas. That's not intuitive thinking. Just what intuitively? Okay, yeah. So this is, the ball is 10 cents, the bat is $1. Yeah, dollar, bat, 10 cents, ball. Ball is 10 cents. Okay, 10 cents for the ball. Okay, so this is the intuitive response. This is what your mind immediately goes to. The bat is $1 and the ball is 10 cents. So together, the price for both is $1.10. But if you think about it a little bit more, you realize that this can't be the case, right? Because the whole scenario was that the bat costs $1 more than the ball. So if you say 10 cents for the ball, that means the bat is only 90 cents more than the ball. Do you see? See, that's the intuition. But the actual answer is this. The bat is $1.05 and the ball is 5 cents. Because together it's $1.10, but the bat is $1 more than the ball. So that's the answer. So this is how an intuition that you have could be mistaken. So intuitions can be mistaken. But so it's good to reflect. It's good to think. It's good to have some level of analysis. And this is what we see in the Quran. Because some people will have this intuition that, for example, that, well, there are other spirits that exist, so we should worship them. They have the intuition that spirits exist, right? Like jinn, for example. Jinn or malaika. Other supernatural entities. That is an intuition that people have. So maybe they will be inclined to worship those beings. But Allah is telling you that this to reflect. How can you worship other than Allah? How can these other entities have more power and more control than Allah, who is the creator of all of them? So why are you worshiping them? Why are you worshiping creation instead of the creator? That is something that requires some kind of reflection. It requires some kind of analysis. Not very difficult analysis, but it's some analysis. So intuitions are not 100%. We should just follow our intuitions no matter what. No, some analysis, analytic thinking is necessary. There's a balance. And this is the idea. Or worshiping your ancestors, for example. There's an intuition that when your ancestors died, that they're not gone, their consciousness still exists. People have that intuition universally. But then are you going to go and start worshiping your ancestors like they do in different cultures, like Chinese culture, for example, or certain Hindu cultures? Are you going to do that? No, you're going to reflect. Is this something that makes sense? Instead of asking Allah, you're asking your dead ancestors. Think, reflect, use your aql, use your reason. That's analysis. That's analytic thinking. It's required. Both are required. So I would say that this is an insight that has occurred or reoccurred in different moments in history. It's an insight that has occurred in Western philosophy, and the figure that is primarily associated with this is Ludwig Wittgenstein, who happens to be my favorite Western philosopher. And it's also insight from Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah as well. Because if you look at what Shaykh al-Islam is bringing in his works, like Dar al-Ta'arud, al-Aql wal-Naql, when he's his book on the refutation of the contradiction between reason and revelation, this is the point that he brings, is that you have to have a balance between reason and what is revelation. There cannot be a conflict. There can't be a contradiction between reason and revelation. And that epistemology is ultimately grounded in the fitra, which is your intuition or intuitive thinking. So Shaykh al-Islam is also concerned with this. He's saying that the falasifa and the later Asha'ira, they have gone too far in analysis, in their analytic thinking, and they've adopted this kind of Greek logic that is now it is creating a situation where revelation is being denied, and it is basically distorting the correct understanding of revelation because they have taken analysis too far. Basically, this is basically what he is complaining about, and we need to have this balance. We need to have this balance and ground ourselves in the ultimate source of our understanding, our knowledge of reality, which is the fitrah. And the fitrah, as we know, is what Allah has created human beings with, the capacity or the tendency to recognize that you are the creation, that you are created by Allah, and Allah is the creator. Alastu bi rabbikum? Am I not your Lord? Allah asked all of humanity when He created them, and He spread them, as mentioned in the Quran, that Allah created all of humanity and asked them, Alastu bi rabbikum? Qalu bala. They all said, yes, indeed. That is the source of the fitrah, because we all witnessed Allah and we all testified that Allah exists, and that is inbuilt. The memory of that, or the experience of that, is inbuilt into our cognition, into our bodies, into our very existence. That is the fitrah that's referred to in the Quran, and it's also referred to in Hadith. And Shaykh al-Islam is very concerned with the fitrah, grounding our epistemology in the fitrah. And he'll also talk about our aql, like even the aql, even our faculties of reason ultimately have a fitri basis, are actually based in the fitrah. So this is actually very interesting, because if you look at deduction, like the if any kind of inference or argument that you make, any kind of deductive, like a contingency argument or kalam, cosmological argument, what is it that makes an argument compelling? What is it that when you hear like the cosmological argument for the existence of God, like what is it inside of you that when you hear the argument, you say, I'm convinced, or I'm not convinced? It's a certain kind of feeling that you get. But again, when we say feeling, we don't mean a subjective feeling. We mean there's something internal that clicks or doesn't click. Like there's something, or any type of syllogism that you want to run. There's something like that deduction or induction, inductive reasoning or abductive reasoning, or any type of reasoning. Like there's something that moves you to accept a conclusion based on premises. What is like that feeling is also intuitive, like your inferential intuitions that you have. So even like analytic thinking, like the ultimate nuts and bolts of it goes back to intuitions as well. Be that as it may, the point is that you have this balance between intuitive thinking and analytic thinking, and that's how you can really understand reality. Your epistemology has to be balanced. The human mind has to be balanced. Otherwise, it's going to distort reality. It's going to come to false conclusions.